Sam Cater, Freddie Mac's chief economist, told the country the housing market was finally back. The 30-year mortgage rate had dropped to 5.98%, first time below 6% in 3.5 years. He called it meaningful, said it would drive buyers back in for spring. Cotter wasn't wrong, he was reading the data. 6 weeks later, that number is no longer valid. This is how the 2026 spring housing market died in 42 days. Back in November, Lawrence Yun stood in front of the National Association of Realtors conference in Houston and made a promise. 2026, he said, was the year existing home sales would jump 14%. Prices would rise. The worst was over. For 10 weeks, Yun looked right. Rates were falling. Inventory was growing. The Fed had cut 3 times. Buyers were circling. Then at the end of February, something happened. A joint U.S. and Israeli strike on Iran. By March 4th, the Strait of Hormuz was closed. Brent crude blew past $120 a barrel. The bond market did the math before anyone else did. 10-year Treasury yields climbed. Mortgage rates moved with them. Within 2 weeks, the 5.98% low was a memory. On March 18th, Jerome Powell walked into a Fed press conference and said the quiet part out loud. Inflation expectations were rising. Oil was the reason, cuts were off the table. Governor Christopher Waller, who'd openly wondered 2 weeks earlier why the Fed was sitting on its hands, fell in line and voted to hold. By April 2nd, Freddie Mac's rate hit 6.46%, 48 basis points above that February low. Here's what that means to you. On a median-priced American home, your monthly payment just jumped over $100. That's $37,000 in extra interest over 30 years. The builders saw it first. On March 12th, Lenner's executive chairman Stuart Miller got on the earnings call. Gross margins had collapsed, down 490 basis points year over year. Lenner was burning 14% of every sale on incentives just to move homes. KB Home missed earnings. Its per-share profit fell 65%. Builder sentiment dropped to a 7-month low. A survey of American homebuilders found 63% had seen local competitors doing layoffs. In Texas, 87%. Then, on April 13th, Yun quietly revised his own forecast. Not in a press conference, but buried in the monthly existing home sales report. March sales came in at 398 million, the slowest March since 2009. In the Northeast, sales hit the lowest level in NAR's regional database going back to 1999. And here's the part nobody talks about. The Supreme Court back on February 20th struck down Trump's tariffs. A win for consumers, should have helped bond yields. It didn't. Yields rose 6 basis points that day because stripping out tariff revenue meant a wider federal deficit. Bigger deficit, higher yields, higher mortgages. The people setting your rate aren't at the Fed. They're in the Treasury market, and they'd already decided. The people winning right now aren't buyers. They're the homeowners who aren't moving. 65% of Americans who renovated in the last year did it instead of moving. 80% of mortgage holders carry a rate below 6%. They're not selling. They're ripping out kitchens. Home Depot wins, realtors and loan officers lose. The NAR itself expects to shed 400,000 members by the end of this cycle. So where does this leave you? If Iran holds a ceasefire and oil cools, rates might drift back toward the low 6s. The MBA is now modeling 6.5% through 2026. The era of 5.98% lasted 1 week in February. It may not come back this year. If you were waiting for the spring market to save you, it's already gone. Thank you for being here and subscribe for part 2.